Deontay learned more from the second fight. He learned that there's something wrong. What I'm doing is not working. This guy came in the fight and kind of mowed me over. So I got to readjust and do what I need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
But a good champion should have been able to adjust during the fight.
Yeah.
So it went 7 rounds. So he gets pushed around in the first couple of rounds. I'm saying to you, should a good champion, should he have been able to do something on the night? Should he have been able to respond differently?
He should have, but you got to look at where Deontay's coming from. He started boxing late, and he doesn't have that much experience. He didn't have a great trainer. He had a good trainer, but didn't have a great trainer. And, he used only a certain amount of tools. He's got a lot of tools, but if you use 2 of them, that's not going to work. If you depend on 2 of them, it's not going to work. You got to have a lot of experience, a lot of tools in there to work with, a lot of different things needed to happen for him. And what he's basically done, he's assessed himself, and he's relearning. Some people may say it's a bit too late. These are the things you've got to be learning when you first come out, instead of knocking the people out. Because when you knock somebody out, you don't really learn anything. You learn that you got a powerful punch and that you can knock people out. And
especially if you do it 6 or 7 times in world title fights.
It becomes easier, and you say, every fight that you go in, I'm gonna knock him out. But sometimes the knockout doesn't come. And I always say, if you can't knock somebody out, you better be able to box.
Those are the words of Lennox Lewis. Big up England, big up. Lennox gave his assessment on Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. I 100% agree. Well, not 100% agree. I agree with a lot of the things that Lennox Lewis said. I agree that he was Wilder. He only used certain tools. He did. He got to the mindset of knocking people out. He did. He started late. He did. He didn't have a great trainer. Now, that's where I'm going to disagree with. Well, who are you referring to? Are you referring to Mark Breland, or are you referring to JD's? If he was referring to JD's, he's right. But if he was referring to Mark Breland, I think that's, again, throwing Mark Breland under the bus, because a lot of things you can't blame on the trainer. Maybe the relationship between the 2 people, maybe Breland and Wilder, but you can't blame it on Breland, right? Especially if it's supposed to be a 50-50 relationship between trainer and fighter, and they're supposed to come together to, to map out and create this game plan and this successful strategy to work in the ring against their opponent. Then it's successful. Well, obviously that wasn't the case. What he said about Wilder, didn't know what was going on. He had to reassert himself. He did. And speaking on that, he had to go back and learn things. He did. That was the most contradicting thing about the cheating allegations, because what Tyson Fury asked him, he couldn't answer. Because if you felt that was the only way he won is because he cheated, why would you need to learn this, that, the other? Why would you have to go to Malik Scott the very next day and tell him and break down and tell him like, hey, man, things are not like they should. I need your help. I need you on board. There's some changes to be made. Why would there need to be changes to be made? If the only change was Mark Breland throwing that towel in, okay, well, that's all you needed to do. Stick with JD's. Yeah, you could have got another trainer to replace that trainer, but not doing things that we never seen you do before. Okay, so that's that. Now, Lewis saying if you can't knock somebody out, you better learn to be able to box. Well, that's true. Because there's a lot of fighters that get to their career and they get known for knocking people out, and then when they find out that doesn't work, they can't win. Wilder being one of them, Jeff Lacey being another, Fernando Vargas being another. Okay, these guys were ruthless with their knockout ability. Okay, they were known. They created a reputation for knocking people out here and there. to and fro. Okay. And then when they couldn't knock that person out, their decision and the way they fought was always questionable. When Fernando Vargas, for example, went in there and fought Winky Wright. Winky Wright clearly beat him, outpointed him, everything. It was like a Lara Canelo situation because Winky Wright was a quick, slick southpaw from Florida that nobody really knew. Nobody really wanted to fight because of the skills that he possessed. Okay, that's the problem he ran into. But when you run into somebody that took it to him like Trinidad, it was over with. Okay, so he has to be able to box. That's why he's learning the things that he's learned. Then, normally me and Lennox Lewis, I have nothing against Lennox. But you have to respect Lennox. He might not care for me, but Lennox Lewis does. He has a boxing brain on him. He knows boxing. Okay, and there's a lot of things that he could do if people would just listen to him. And in fact, he taught Deontay Wilder how to throw a successful jab in front of a complex somewhere. I don't know where they were at. Maybe they're in the UK. I don't know. But he was teaching Deontay certain things that Deontay supposed to knew at that time, and he didn't. You know what I mean? So there's things that people can always learn. Okay, and it's never too late to learn. You learn until you drop dead in the coffin. Okay, so I think he's absolutely right. He needs to learn fundamentals. He needs to learn how to box because you can't always depend on a knockout. So if knocking out is your go-to and that go-to isn't fulfilled, then guess what? You're in trouble. And that happens to a lot of people. Okay, and it's crazy. Like Andy Lee said it best, right? He said, when I tried to knock out Julio Cesar Chavez and he wouldn't go anywhere and I hit him with my hardest shots, I started to mentally crumble. And that's what happens to people. You can't get them out of there. The only difference is Wilder is a determined, driven guy because he knows if I land, I can win. But if you can't land, you better learn how to box along with everything else because that knockout may never come. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Lennox Lewis saying that if you can't knock somebody out, you better learn how to box, amongst other things. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunched. Peace.